God bless you, family. I'm a changed man for life. Thank you for stopping in and checking out my channel. Thank you for stopping in and checking out this video. If you have not yet subscribed, please take this opportunity to do so. Smash that subscribe button, ring the notification bell so that you're made aware when new content drops. How's everybody doing this Saturday morning? I appreciate you tapping in. As you can see by the thumbnail, I'm going to get back to my correctional officer series where I drop little videos about COs and stuff that goes on with them inside the California Department of Corrections. If you're not familiar with me or my channel, I'm an ex-lifer. I did 24 years and I've been home for almost 10 years now. And let's get into it. So the thumbnail asks a question about COs helping lifers to come home. And a lot of you probably like, heck no, ain't no COs trying to help nobody come home. And those of you that are knowing are like, yeah, absolutely they do. And let me tell you a little bit about it. I'm actually going to be able to show you guys better than I can tell you. So the way that correctional officers, in my experience, help lifers get out is by writing what's called a laudatory chrono. Now, if you're not familiar with what a chrono is, period, maybe you've heard the term 128s. People always talking about having to show their paperwork and showing their 128G. Well, the 128 is a CDCR document that is used for a variety of different reasons. There can be positive 128s, there could be negative 128s, there could be 128s that are just informational, giving information about the prisoner. There's laudatory chronos, which is what I'm going to be talking about and showing you guys. And what a laudatory chrono is, it's documentation where a staff member, whether it be a correctional officer or a free staff, for instance, like a teacher or a canteen supervisor or the kitchen supervisor, something like that, somebody that's a prison staff member, but they're not actually a guard. We call them free staff. Free staffs also write laudatory chronos, and what they are is basically giving somebody props for doing something good. And these are very helpful when you go to the parole board, especially if you can get them from a CO, especially if you can get a guard to write you a laudatory chrono. That looks really good in front of the parole board. Now, I will say this. Of the 24 years I did, 14 of those years were on level 4. 5 years were on level 3. 5 years were on level 2, and then I came home. Of those 14 years that I was on level 4, this is back before I made my conversion to being a Christian, I never heard of a laudatory chrono. I don't think you could get anybody to say, and I could be wrong, but in my experience, you won't find anybody to say that a CO wrote them a laudatory chrono for board. I had heard of it, and I actually had one in the early 90s, but not from a CO. I had got it from a free staff that was my supervisor in the clothing room. When I was in Corcoran, when I got out of the SHU in 1995, I went right there to the main line in Corcoran, and I worked in the clothing room, in the laundry. And when I was going to get transferred out, because they started the new 180 thing, right, where anybody that just got out of the SHU had to go to a 180 design prison, and I had got endorsed for High Desert. So I'm getting ready to leave. I'm getting ready to go to High Desert, and there was an OG homie there that knew about parole board and how stuff worked and all that, and he was already on his trying to go home trip. So he knew about laudatory chronos and how the board looks at them, and he worked in there with us. So he asked my supervisor, hey, will you do him a laudatory chrono? Because he knew that eventually it would help me. And, you know, unfortunately it didn't, because that was in 1995, and I didn't start doing good and start going to the parole board until deep in the 2000s. And I was getting in trouble in between, so it really didn't play a part. But that was the only time on a level 4 I had ever heard of any of a laudatory chrono. And for sure, there were no COs writing them. So now let's fast forward to many, many years later. 2010, I hit the level 2. 2011, I begin to have hope of maybe someday going home and start doing the stuff I need to do to get myself ready for parole board. And I get put up on game about laudatory chronos. and about how some of the officers there were willing to write them, if they knew you. One thing I'll say, and again, in my experience, can't speak for everybody else or for anywhere else, but when I was at Chuckawalla on the level 2, the officers that were willing to write laudatory chronos really had to like know you and see you regularly and see how you behaved and how you get down and how you carry yourself. You weren't just going to find a random CO to put his name on something to the parole board saying that you're doing good. So, they had to be like your housing unit officer, or maybe you worked for them on the yard crew or in the kitchen or in education or something like that. But it really, it says a lot because they're putting their name on it, right? And I'm going to show you guys an example. Enough of this talking about what it is. If you've never seen a 128G before, you're about to see a 128G. Now, mind you, this is a 128G laudatory chrono. So it's not going to talk about what my gang affiliation was and what I was busted for and all the kind of stuff that people talk about when they're saying, oh, they check your paperwork or I'm going to show your paperwork. This is not that kind of 128G, but it is a 128G, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Hopefully this will look good on the screen. This is my first time ever screen sharing in a video, so I don't even know, exactly how this works, but bear with me. We're going to test it out. So if you can see that there on the screen, that is what a 128G looks like. As you can actually see up in the top right-hand corner where it says Department of Corrections, right beneath that, it says 128B. This is a 128B. So the 128G is the one that would have all of your information on it, right? Your gang affiliation, your crime, all that kind of stuff. This is a 128B, informational, general laudatory chrono. So let's check this out. I'm going to read it. I don't know how good you guys can see it or not, but I'm going to read it in case you can't see it too well. It has my name, right? It had my CDC number right there. I had an H number, H03018. Tells you what building I was in, C6, what cube I was in, 23, and my bunk was 4 low. This chrono recognizes the positive programming efforts of inmate Jim McGrath. That's me. During this time, I have been acquainted with inmate McGrath approximately 3 years. He has always been a respectful and courteous individual. In the performance of my duties as the facility C6 floor officer, so this was my floor cop. This was CO Parker, who worked on First Watch. If you don't know what First Watch means, the day is broken up into 3 sections. 8-hour shifts, 3 8-hour shifts make a 24-hour day. First Watch is from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So this was my building cop that worked First Watch. So he came in at 10 o'clock at night and left out at 6 o'clock in the morning. So we're going to pick back up where he talks about being my floor officer. He says, I have had the opportunity to observe inmate McGrath in the housing unit, and his conduct has been exemplary. Inmate McGrath does not exhibit any aggressive or violent behavior and has not had any disciplinary problems since his arrival at CVSP, which stands for Chuckawalla Valley State Prison, in 2010. Mr. McGrath has taken responsibility for his rehabilitation and is involved in various self-help programs and also serves as a self-help facilitator. This inmate has a very high level of respect from his peers, as well as all the staff he interacts with. Inmate McGrath should be commended for his positive and productive programming. And then he signed it. It has his name, his title right there. Talks about what parts of the file this is going to go to and all that. So that's what a laudatory chrono is. And as you can see, that's, he's talking very well about me, about my behavior, about the positive activities that I got going on. I was, in fact, teaching self-help groups at this time. And he notes that in the chrono. And it's really cool. These are a big help. And I'm very, very grateful to CO Parker, to the other COs that wrote me laudatory chronos like this. And any lifer would tell you, if they got to a spot where they're doing this, again, like I said, on level 4, this is unheard of. The cops aren't trying to help nobody. We ain't trying to go to the cops and ask for no help. On level 4, the majority of people don't even have no hope of going home. So board preparation, stuff like this, is not even really on anybody's mind. We don't even really know about it. It's not something people are talking about. And to be perfectly honest, you'd get looked at kind of funny if a CO wrote this kind of stuff about you on a level 4. The homies would be tripping. But again, I was already down to a level 2 where it was practically all lifers, all that had been down 20 or more years, everybody trying to go home. So everybody, was doing what they needed to do to show the board we were ready. So that's just one example, right? I'm gonna hit you with another one. I got one more that I'm gonna show you. So this one was from Officer Chavez, and he was also the floor officer in my building, but he was on second watch. So he came in at 6 o'clock in the morning and left at 2 in the afternoon. So then obviously third watch is from 2 in the afternoon to 10. So this chrono, same setup, same format, right? It says Department of Corrections up there. It says CDC 128, has my name, has my CDCR number, has my housing listed, and basically says the same type of things, right? This chrono recognizes the positive programming efforts of inmate Jim McGrath. I've been acquainted with Mr. McGrath since his arrival at CVSP in 2010. During that time, I have had the opportunity to observe inmate McGrath on a regular basis, and his attitude reflects an individual who is respectful towards staff and inmates. Inmate McGrath conducts himself in an exemplary manner and is a model inmate who gives his assistance to both staff and inmates alike. He is an asset to this institution and has taken tremendous steps to better himself, utilizing his time constructively to both participate in and facilitate self-help programs, as well as further his education. I was in college. Inmate McGrath is hereby commended for his rehabilitative efforts, and then he signed off on it. M. Chavez, correction, has his title, has his work assignment, all that right there. So those are laudatory chronos. These are 128s. This is something, again, that was unheard of on the level 4, but are very powerful in a board hearing. When you can get the commissioners to see that even the staff talks about you being a changed person and you doing good things, that goes a long way towards getting found suitable for parole. It's not often that you'll see something like this. I don't know if other level 2s, if the staff there were doing it. I don't know how any of the COs that might be watching this, Hector Bravo or anybody that might be watching this, get in the comments and let me know what you think. And if you're against it, if you don't think they should have been doing that, that's your opinion and you're entitled to it. Please feel free to put that in the comments if that's how you feel. But I'm telling you that these type of chronos, and I have multiple of them, not from COs, but from free staff. My supervisor in the canteen, she wrote me one. The teacher that I worked for in education wrote me one. A Voc instructor wrote me one. It's important to get those. You got to show when you're sitting in front of the parole board, basically you're interviewing for the job of free citizen. So just like when you go to a job interview and you're trying to have your resume stacked, it's the same thing we're doing when we go to board. When we go to board, we have to have a portfolio put together to show, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna go get that for you. Y'all hold on for just a quick minute. I'm gonna let you check something out. Okay, so I was talking about portfolios for board, right? And at some point I'll do a video on just this, but for now, since I brought it up, let me show y'all. This was my board portfolio. This is what I took to board. I want you to see how thick it is. This is all certificates, chronos, support letters, all kind of stuff. Let y'all check this out for a minute. I know I'm blocking my face. My bad. That's not good video quality, but I want y'all to see it. This thing is full of my parole plans, chronos that I received, certificates. I had to go in and present this to the parole board. And that's basically like my story. It's my story in a book of all the rehabilitative stuff I was doing and all the people that were supporting me, whether it was staff inside the institution, whether it was people on the outside writing me support letters, which is mandatory. The board requires it of you. So yeah, so I wanted to share that with you all. I wanted to let you know that in prison in California, on lower levels, on level 2, It's not all about just hating the COs because they got green on and them hating you because you got blue on. That may be the way it is on level 4 and on level 3. General population level 4s and level 3s. On this general population level 2 I was on, it wasn't like that. This was a programming yard of lifers trying to go home. The staff knew that. And by the grace of God, there were staff members there willing to help. So that's my video. For the answer to my question, do correctional officers help lifers go home? They absolutely do. Thank you guys for checking it out. Jesus loves you and so do I. God bless you. I'm out.